Good evening, and welcome to the Spiritus Society of Virginia. Each meeting we start with a reading, and this one's from our Daily Bread. It's number 77. It's entitled To Respond. Paul in a letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 6. Let your conversation always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. The act of responding beneficially to heterogeneous minds requires superior qualities that the individual should make an effort to acquire. Points of view cannot be directed indiscriminately at fellow humans as they struggle with one another in evolutionary and redemptive tasks. It is necessary to address each one judiciously. One should not respond to someone working in the countryside by mentioning circumstances in the city. One should not use highly scientific remarks with someone complaining about the harshness of his or her individual path. First of all, one must not be disagreeable to the listener. One should moderate the verbal attitude with a true grasp of life's problems. It is our duty to make our contributions so that those who have strayed away from simplicity and usefulness may realign themselves. Every response is an important matter. It is like medicine. One must apply to the dose with its effects in mind. Each individual will tolerate and benefit from the proper dosage. Even the solutions of truth and love must be administered without this criterion. Applied in inappropriate doses, even the truth could destroy, just as love can cause damage. Even if questioned by the greatest evildoer in the world, you should maintain a pleasant and dignified manner to inform or enlighten. Knowing how to respond is a virtue from the sphere of celestial wisdom. For your own sake, do not forget the best way of caring for each individual.
Let us all feel the presence of the loving and kind spirit mentors, the directors of the Spiritus Society of Virginia, who kindly open their hearts to us, welcoming us to new learning, to new treatment, and to the opportunity of serving one another. Let us feel Jesus' presence. Master Jesus, today is the day we on earth recall. The choices we made regarding you. Thank God we no longer misunderstand you. Thank God, and thanks to you, to your forgiveness and compassion. We now begin to identify you every day in people, in ourselves, and to see the divine greatness of your coming. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your true sacrifice of love that allows us to reflect on our current choices. Are we crucifying you again? Now we know better, And we can no longer claim that we don't know what we're doing, or we already know it. May tonight we deepen our understanding and our commitment with God through you, feeling your blessings. We open tonight's meeting, truly hoping that in two realms everyone receives your loving care. We have come to appreciate you and love you. Thank you, and so be it. Okay. Make sure this is going to work well. All right. Okay, the book, Life and Sex. It seems like a soap opera by now, right? Are we done? Not yet. When is the final episode? Right? So 26 chapters in this book. Again, we can't forget that Emmanuel, is it working?
It's cutting a little bit.
Is it cutting? Why? It shouldn't be though. Is it?
Okay, now it's good. Yeah, now
Thank
it's
you.
good. Thank you.
So interesting enough, Emmanuel wrote this book in 26 chapters. It's not by chance that the book was written in 26, not 25, not 30. It shows to us that it contains precisely what we need to understand the basics of life and sex. And why is this so important? So as we come to an end, because this is like chapter 24, we're 2 chapters away from ending this book. He's going to revisit a few elements that he has already discussed. So without the previous chapters, it's hard to understand everything. So we together can recall the definitions he brought before. Before he ends the book, he goes to the climax of it all to talk about, he named it erotic charge or load. What is it? Hold on. Let's see where he's going to begin it all. Where is sex? Is it in the body or is it in the mind? That's the main question. In the mind. Can we blame the body for feeling things? If I change my body, you see, people, they are born and reborn with different bodies and yet they feel things, proving to us that it's not the body. So if people blame their bodies for anything, like, oh, I feel hungry because my body is asking, but who is the commander of the body? Easter is coming. Chocolate is coming. And we can't blame the body. But you know, the beauty of it all is that Jesus was since Easter is about Jesus for us, right? Jesus was such a nice man. He never, when people wanted to blame on those who ate, who drank, what did he say? The bigger problem is what comes from your mouth, not what you put in your mouth. Because there are people who are like, oh, it's a bad thing. They have polluted thoughts and they have a clean diet. But the mental diet is inexistent. So tonight we're going to think of a better thing, a mental diet. You can still eat Easter chocolate. As long as we're doing a mental diet. A diet where there is no judgment, no criticism. That's the hardest diet. No no hatred, no envy, where we rejoice seeing people happy, and we're not seeing that they are creating things to entrap people. Because we don't trust others because we're not reliable. We're not accountable. Because the day we are, we're going to look at people and trust who they are. Jesus did it. He never talked to his disciples saying, oh, don't believe those people. Actually, the disciples told him those words. How come you help them? How come you do this and they do that and the other? And Jesus was always bringing the good side of people. So are we crucifying Jesus again, since it's Good Friday? We're meditating on this. Crucifying him again by knowing all these things and yet repeating. So here in this chapter that Emmanuel titles Erotic Load, he's going to refer every other chapter. He takes turns with the Gospel according to Spiritism and then the Spirit's book. He begins each chapter with different quotes. Today is the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 17, item 11. Chapter 17 is about be perfect. And he begins the paragraph that Kardec wrote when Kardec said, here, two systems confront each other. That of the ascetics, who want to bring down the body, and that of the materialists, who want to bring down the soul. Two forms of violence, each almost as foolish as the other. See how the Gospel according to Spiritism is revolutionary? 1864, and this is the language. Yeah, yeah, it's a group of people who wanted to deny the body.
Oh.
Yeah, they wanted to deny the body, feeling like the body should be, not as important as materialist people place, like the body is everything. In Portuguese, ascetas. Yeah, ascetas.
Fazem imolação, se
Yeah.
machucam.
They punish themselves itself. Because they believed the body needed to be subjugated, but in very violent form, And I don't know if we had this experience of the ascetics in the past or not. The materialists, for sure, they thought that it's more important than the soul. And there's still people who believe in that. People who believe that things that they don't see don't exist. And the body is everything. Who are these people? Materialists. People who have health problems and they don't believe it's anywhere related to who they are, who they think. It's all about the body. They say, a headache? Oh, no, I ate something wrong. A backache? Oh, I sat wrongly. Or I was in the wrong position. Everything they believe, or it's the genes. So they don't believe that there's something beyond the physical body. Majority of people on earth are like this. That's why our discourse is misunderstood or not understood by them at all yet. It's going to take time. Talking about Jesus alone, they say that 2 billion people already know of Jesus, are connected to Christianity somewhat, but we have 6 billion people on earth. So we have a fourth, that are connected, not necessarily devoted. So we're still in a planet that is not Christ conscious, doesn't know anything about it. And for those who believe even deeper, as for us spiritists, it's less than 1%, just to be optimistic. Less than 1%, just to be very optimistic. So this is why Emmanuel brings this to us, this reflection. This book is so deep that he chose this quote, it's longer than we put here, but he's talking about the source of our sexual desire. Where does it come from? In the soul or the body? That's the main question for the chapter. Erotic load or charge is about sexual desire. There are people who are young as a child. They already feel it. They don't know the name, but they feel it. There are people who are as old as 90, 100 years old, and they still feel it quite a lot, no matter how old the body is. It's proving to us time and again that it's nothing to do with the physical body. So Emmanuel begins, okay? Let's breathe in together. Expressing love in ceaseless expansion, the sexual instinct is born in the depths of life, guiding the process of evolution. Is that interesting? Yeah. In one sentence, he summarizes 10,000 concepts. So first, he connects the sexual instinct with the expression of love. See how Spiritism is fantastic. It's revolutionary. It doesn't say any bad things about sex, sexual instinct. It says, no, it's sacred. It's sacred. So sacred that we depend on it to evolve. How are we going to reincarnate without it?
To teach this in sexual education.
Right? But we won't understand this if we don't understand the spirit, the immortal soul. That's the problem. It's a requirement. If you don't have that foundation, this is going to be incomprehensible, unintelligible, right? Every conscious individual brings within them the immeasurable heritage of the sexual experiences lived in the lower realms of nature. In the book Evolution in Two Worlds, we are going to see André Luiz talking about, since the very beginning of our experiences, as I was telling Virginia the other day, the body is like clothes. So I cannot say that a gorilla became a human being. No, not the gorilla, but the spiritual principle that animated, that dressed up in the body of a gorilla evolved till it dressed up the body of humans. And of course, there is the biological evolution, and science proves it to us, and we cannot deny it. But how do we live all these experiences? It's always stored in the spiritual body. Everything, says Leon Denis, everything we say, everything we do, everything we think, everything we feel is stored in our spiritual body, the perispirit. And it's going to be stored there forever. The beauty is that, imagine a scrapbook, right? Memories, 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 memories. When you have fancier elements, you can make a scrapbook be more elegant, right? So the difference between us and the pure spirits is that they have already transformed their memories with a new understanding of those experiences. They don't look at their misdeeds of the past the same way we look at our misdeeds today. We have a hard time forgiving ourselves, right? And others. But when we evolve, we'll be able to look back at those memories and edit the way we see them. Vibratorily, they will change. And then we'll become more homogeneous in our feelings. We're just saying this because it seems almost surreal that we have all these experiences related to sex since ancient times in inferior kingdoms of nature. And how do we evolve to pure spirits to the level that we don't regret anymore? We don't have remorse anymore. We don't feel ashamed anymore. Because we change the way we understand it. Remember Emmanuel in the book Thought and Life saying how important it is to boost our understanding. And Jesus taught us that. How to seek the good amidst our misdeeds. We'll never forget that dramatic scene described by Humberto de Campos in the book No Roteiro de Jesus. At Kardec Radio, that series was named 40 Nights with the Promised Consoler. That scene. So there is the woman about to be stoned. Jesus frees her up. Later, Humberto de Campos describes to us that Peter comes and is very enraged. He's enraged. Mm-hmm. He didn't approve of Jesus' attitude at all. Mm-hmm. It's like, how come you're freeing somebody who is a sinful person? She's going to bother other families. Mm-hmm. And Jesus very patiently says, Peter, we don't know the truth. He knew it. Mm-hmm. But he didn't say anything because he wouldn't understand how Jesus knows of it all. So he says, that's the way things are. We don't know always the truth. And then as he's arguing, or trying to argue with Jesus, right? He's trying, but Jesus is not getting into the argument, right? He's trying. You know those people who are like poking and poking and poking, but Jesus like very cool. He's not getting in. And then this woman comes in. And she knows that Jesus is the master and Peter is a disciple. And yet, she doesn't want to talk to the master because she sees he understands. She's advocating for the woman who is her niece before Peter. And says, my man, she is my niece. We came to the market because we needed food. And then a man approached her and was sexually harassing her. And she refused to give in. And that's when he created this slander, this calumny, saying that she was doing such thing that she was not. And then Peter is like, who is this man? Now he turns his anger to the man. That person who is angry with this person, then later with the person who is in the road, and then just like Peter. And people don't know that the disciples are just like us. I mean, God forbid, of course, they were more advanced, but just like us in many ways. So he was very intolerant, very angered with the situation. And then the woman said, well, if you want to know, that door, past that door, that's where he is. Oh, show me the man. They go there. And Jesus is walking. That's the interesting part. He's walking side by side, very patiently. I think when I see that scenario, it reminds us of Jesus next to us, always very patiently supporting us and helping us along our decisions, our process. He's never going to give up on us. He's not going to judge us and say, oh, give up on me, Peter. Talk to you later. You'll find out. Then you call me up. One day. No, he's so patient. He's there. He knows the story. And he's not intervening, but he's supportive. He's present. A lesson for parents. It's for parents who say, oh, they have to find out. Yeah, they can find out by themselves, but you need to be near. Mm-hmm. Jesus was not on the clouds saying, figure it out. He came here in person. have to be present. We need to be present. And then the woman opened the door. When Peter saw the man, he couldn't believe his eyes. It's like, no disciple was close. The man was Peter's mother-in-law's adopted son. When he saw it, he felt a mixture of anger and shame. Then, almost like a child, he turns to the master. Master Jesus then says, "Oh, Master, what do I do now?" And Jesus holds him close and said, "Peter, that's why I said we don't know the whole story. Quick to judge. And then when you least expect, the person who is the closest to you is creating the mess that is angering you. If we go till the end, and the books of Andrea Lewis tell us stories that are alike. And life goes on in that story, right? The woman who is friends with Ernest finds out that his daughter is her husband's affair. Oh my gosh. This is the story of our lives. In all those experiences, we're going to accumulate and learn how to look back in the memories of our lives and understand from a different point of view. From existence to existence, lesson by lesson, step by step, for centuries and centuries in the animal sphere, the individuality raised to reason surprises in itself a whole world of genetic impulses to educate and adjust to the superior laws that govern life. So, he already says, yes, the impulses will come. What do we do with it? Educate, adjust for higher purposes. If people just told us that when we were young, that these things you're going to feel, you're supposed to educate, not repress or liberate, but educate. The problem is that in our society, we have only two systems: liberation or repression. Go experience it or don't do it at all. There's no in between. Because to educate, you need to contemplate, to look at it, to think of it, to reflect, to acknowledge. To educate, we need to acquire new habits. Remember, education in Spiritism, redefined by Kardec in the Spirit's book, says it's about acquiring new habits. So put a pause here. Pause. To regenerate, to evolve, we need to learn the new.
Integrative behavior.
Exactly. So I need to begin anew, to know a new way of doing things. How we're going to do it. If we don't think about it, we don't reflect about it, if we're just repressing, no, I don't want to talk about sex. No, don't talk about it. And then how are we going to educate it? Never. So if parents don't talk to their children about it, like Virginia came here today, what is erotic charge? It's about the sexual instinct inside of us. No need to say more. The Spirit knows. We know. We need to talk about it to make it natural. It's not supernatural. Right? And to know, what do I do with it? I'm going to feel it. I'm going to want it. Should I do it? How do I change this habit? Right? We read the book 2,000 years ago by Emmanuel. The month of April in Spiritism is considered the month of the Spiritist book because it's the month when Kardec published the first book, the Spiritist book. There are books that are in a different style. They are like novels, but they are instructional, educational novels. 2,000 years ago is a novel, but quite educational. If we talk about sexual instinct per se, we're going to see Pontius Pilate as the example of the person who desires and acts on it without thinking, versus others in the book who are very well educated in that regard. Livia and others. We see Flavia versus her husband Plinio, and we'll see the difference of people who are already a step ahead. Not because they are repressed, just because they adjusted themselves to superior laws of life. But the question is, am I aware of these superior laws that govern life? Because if people don't know, they're not going to do it. So if we want our children to know, when they are 18, it's too late. When they are 11, they already know it. So you need to, little by little, right, present to them and talk about it. And talk about it in a way saying, this is nature. Like they learn that the plant reproduces, that the animals reproduce, and thus humans. How does it happen? It's more about the feelings, the desires, and we want to talk about what we feel. And Emmanuel says something quite interesting. At first, exposed to the adverse effects of polygamous adventures. Human beings advance from teaching to teaching towards monogamy as they recognize the need for security and balance in matters of love. This is a completely different way of seeing everything. See, there's no criticism. There's no pointing fingers. That's the beauty of Spiritism. It doesn't say, because if you go to many churches, they're going to say, don't talk about it. And if you go out of the churches, people are going to say, do it. Don't even talk, do it. Yeah? Tinder. Right? And he's going to say adverse effects of polygamy. What are the adverse effects of polygamy? He thinks we know what he's talking about, but what is he talking about? The adverse effect of polygamy. What is it? But what is the problem with it? What are the adverse effects?
Like the mental imbalance.
The mental imbalance.
Imbalance in the body too, right?
Uh-huh. And what else?
So he talks about security imbalance would be the opposite, because the adverse effects would be the insecurity imbalance.
What does it create when you have many? It's like jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
The book 2,000 years ago again, Pontius Pilate is polygamous. Talking about Jesus and the day of today. We can't forget, he already evolved, Pontius Pilate, but he's an example of this polygamous adventures. And because he was married to one person and was having tons of affairs, including with the sister of his wife, this very sister is the one that out of jealousy, because he's in love with somebody else, right? She creates a plot that will later derive in impediments to saving the very Christ. Showing to us that the behind the scenes of the very crucifixion had this touch as well when we're not creating, it's in the story.
And through the story, we see that it leads to mental illness. Of course, spiritual obsession and mental illness because of the associations that are made from mind to mind. Other spirits that are free from the physical body who are also addicted connect, and then there's a legion together with us, so we cannot free ourselves. And then guilt and shame literally drive us crazy, which is what happened to Fulvia and Pontius Pilate.
Who killed himself?
Mm-hmm.
He killed himself later. The adverse effects is like the discord amongst people who are in the triangles of love.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if it comes from the mind, doesn't mean that the person doesn't have the physical contact.
No.
Can have in the mind, right?
Yes.
So that's why it's so dangerous to see things like that. Because
if I go to the gym and I don't even talk to somebody, but I go there because I know somebody's seeing me and I feel seen and I'm delighted by it. We don't talk, we don't have anything physical, but I rejoice going there because I feel like, there is this platonic relationship, let's say this. It's not love. This, for us spiritists, counts as, if you're married, it's adultery. If you're not married, it's still, you're having a relationship with somebody. Whether you touch or don't touch. The flirtation is part of the process. There are people who need to be seen. They need to be seen. And they crave people seeing them. And this is already an imbalance of the mind. Because it's already in the polygamous mindset. Because it doesn't matter who sees me, as long as people see me, as long as they exchange the look, they are flirtatious somewhat. There's that smile or something. It's already polygamous mindset. So the question for us all here, just for self-knowledge, which is so important, is how far am I from monogamy? Because monogamy, as he says, will come as we feel sick and tired of this imbalance and this insecurity, because I'm constantly seeking the affection of whomever. It doesn't matter your name, your nationality, if I like you or not, as long as you look at me. You see how sick it is? So when we feel tired of this, of these effects that bring insecurity, that bring imbalance, not only to ourselves alone, but to our relationships, then we will tend to create this monogamic mindset. That's a goal in life.
Going through that process.
Yeah, it's teaching. Yeah.
You have to go through that process
To learn it. And that's the beauty of this. Now that we know, we can voluntarily march towards it and say, I'm no longer going to feed that need because it's not real. Whether people look at me and they smile, they want me or not, that doesn't change my life. So I'm not going to make me more fulfilled. And then I will change that craving consciously. Every individual on earth Now, this is the climax of the chapter. Every individual on earth carries in themselves a certain rate of erotic load, from which they will not be free of at the price of brilliant words and vows, but at the cost of experience and work. Since instincts and passions are energies and states inherent to the soul of each one, that the laws of creation do not destroy, but help each person to transform and elevate toward perfection. Can't skip it. If I say I'm going to the mountain, I'm not going to see anybody. To the desert.
Throw my phone.
Yeah, throw away my phone. Right? I have to educate myself. I have to transform at the cost of experience and work. Since Paula talked about phone, internet nowadays is the biggest part of it. It's more and more in the virtual, less and less in the physical, in many ways. With these apps, the dating apps, there are many people dating many other people at the same time, more than if they were not using the app. They say, but I haven't done anything. But you're creating effective connections with so many people. They're dreaming of you. They don't know you. They think they know you and they're dreaming of you. And vice versa. And then when you meet and it doesn't come true, they keep dreaming of that person that they created about you and they are disappointed. And then you may create obsession that you didn't expect. Because somebody's upset that you disappointed them by not being who they thought you were. Crazy, huh? In marriages too. So learning to let go and saying, well, that person is disappointed. Well, that's who they are. Take it or leave it. You can't be there like what I thought you were. Then change the lenses because you didn't see it. Right? He says, we carry in ourselves a certain rate of this erotic load. It's like the sexual desire. Instincts and passions are energies and states that are inherent to the soul. We're going to see in the Gospel according to Spiritism, Kardec mentioning it. How passions, and then in the Spirit's book it talks about as well, how passions are already an advancement of the spirit, but we need to learn to control it. So we don't destroy it, saying, I'm not going to fuel it. I have to transform it. So it's transformation of the sexual desire. There's no distraction, like I'm not going to fuel it. I'm going to transform it, right?
Every totalitarian government try to control, repress,
Exactly.
for put this energy for another use.
Yeah. But it doesn't work, right? So then we need to learn to educate it.
Work for aggressive things.
Exactly. Right? Where else does he go? So he's going to reaffirm that eroticism is a factor of human sexual magnetism. We're not going to destroy it. It's nature, it's inside of us, it's what makes us attract one another, it's how God created us. It's not supposed to be sinful. And Jesus is so fantastic that in his passage, at least twice, 3 times at least, on the stoning of the woman at the well, and then Mary Magdalene. Especially as we're coming to Easter, we're talking about resurrection and his appearance in spirit before Mary Magdalene. All these occasions, women who had that feeling of the need for affection, and Jesus never, ever punished them, never looked at them like you're a bad person, or willing to try, willing to seek for love, will never. And the climax is when he appears to Mary Magdalene. To date, I think, what if I were his mother? I would be upset. What? You show up to her, not to me. We're friends. At least, huh? But come on, the mother, huh? The mother. What is this? You see how Jesus is revolutionary. He's teaching lessons till the last minute. He's saying, you are crowned because you were seeking for love, because you didn't know it. Now that you know, you are the winner. Number one to her. She's number one. Number one. Because what did she do wrong? She didn't know. She was not like Pontius Pilate, seeking it out of pleasure. She was looking for real affection. And Jesus said, you got it. Now you know where it is. And if everybody does what she did, he will show up to us as well. On Easter. We have a few days to prepare. Yeah. Wow, huh? But we will see him too. Like that. When we make that inner decision to use this magnetism of life to heal, to love, instead of seeking to be loved. That's the change. I no longer, that's the shift that Mary Magdalene made, was she no longer wanted to be loved. She learned that she needed to love instead. And she was the one that made the biggest leap. And thus the crowning moment of his appearance. Same for us. Sublimated spirits attract each other by bonds of love considered divine. So as we evolve, friends, there is no such thing as I'm going to evolve and be alone. No. The more we evolve, the more connected we'll be with the roots of love. But it's not going to be this ephemeral love. It's going to be divine. Divine. Not selfish love. Those individuals, on the other hand, who are temporarily blocked by deficient and obtuse brains, go through more or less long periods of emotional silence, destined for reparations and readjustments, almost always requested by themselves. It's funny because Emmanuel is talking about the opposite of sublimated souls, right? He's talking about people who wronged so much in their sexual adventures that at some point they require some time. No wonder you see many people nowadays who feel like alone. They want to be with themselves because they wronged so much in their relationships with others, that now they have a hard time being with other people. And he's going to say more. They sentence themselves to obstacles and inhibitions in the domain of externalization of the mind, through which they redress attitude and recondition affective impulses in precious awakening and reawakening of consciousness. How many people, if you talk to doctors, they are going to say how many people nowadays have increased problems with their sexuality, inhibitions. And it's not because of age or anything, it's just because they were born this way. They don't feel the same thing. Why? They asked to be less to contain themselves, to have this experience of redressing what it means. And they maybe will go through a whole lifetime feeling less sexual desire. Or maybe feeling, but the body doesn't show it, doesn't present itself. So there is a mismatch because they are being re-educated. Remember when Emmanuel said chapters ago that there is nobody on earth who has not wronged in that regard. So it's more common than we imagine. The beauty is the word awakening. We need to awaken our consciousness and to do it consciously, to process it consciously. Every human being carries with themselves a certain load of erotic impulses. He repeats it, which they will gradually learn to guide towards the good and the valuing of life, like Chico Xavier did. He felt it inside of him. And Emmanuel taught him to talk to his selves, to learn how to bring that load, as Emmanuel said, talk to yourselves so they will bring that erotic load to your brain and use it for works of the good. We can do it too. Instead of going to the gym and looking for love, I'm saying the gym because it's very common. Looking to be loved, like Mary Magdalene, she learned that it's not about being loved, it's about loving. Am I loving? How can I be a beggar of love? Many of us are beggars of love, willing to be loved, instead of making a choice. I want to love. It doesn't matter if people look at me or not, like me or not. The main thing is I look at people, I see them, I want to love them, I want to care for them. Like Emmanuel said here, he said, and John read it for us, for your own sake, do not forget the best way of caring for each individual. There is a way. Each person is different. I need to find the way. Learn to guide this erotic impulse to the good. That's the key. Yeah, inevitably. It's like perfume.
Yes.
Right? You put on perfume and it stays with you. If you spray somewhere else, it stays in your hands. Right? So it stays with you and you value life. We need to grow. Yes.
That is remind me one time that Chico Xavier.
Yeah.
Remember when his dad took him to the
to the prostitution.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was spraying with
Yes.
his dad come back because it was like, and then he was spraying with the prostitute.
Yeah.
This is real love.
because he knew that they were suffering.
Yes.
They were not there out of like pleasure. They were there because there was a circumstance of life that led them to that condition. And he brought them consolation.
Yeah.
Right, Paula?
Yeah, because I think about, people who go to those places and they don't feel the pain, because it's painful
It is.
to be there. I don't know. I never,
Yeah,
maybe
but
in
you
this
can
life,
imagine,
but I
yeah.
maybe in other lives.
Yeah.
So I feel that pain.
The
No.
pain.
Because at that book too, the memoirs of a suicide, that the girl was in, like I felt so bad. Like the men didn't care about her when she fell out sick. They all laughed when they were party. Everything was okay, but then when she started feeling sick, they get out like she was an object, like nothing.
But then we get to know that in a previous life, she did the same. There you go.
I think it's a wonderful connection about the Spiritism and Hinduism to get a kind of energy for grow up.
Yes.
For the
To ascend.
To ascend.
Exactly. To ascend.
Yeah.
Ascension. Exactly. Now, let us think of, as Paula was also bringing that up to us, in the home, parents, children, grandchildren. So important to talk. I see many teens who go out seeking for love because they do not feel they have it at home. So they seek it outside as a way to compensate for what they don't have inside their home. How many people are so loving in their hearts, and they feel like they're driven to one partner, another partner, because they are craving for that affection that is missing with the parents at home. Now they are no longer even living with the parents, but they're still craving that affirmation, that identification. And if we don't give it to them, we're co-responsible for their emptiness. How many teens would not get themselves into that trouble at all if they had parents at home who would embrace them? What do children love the most? Attention. Good or bad. They love attention. Animals are like this. Animals. I saw the other day a video of a rooster as a pet. I couldn't believe a rooster as a pet. Indoor pet. A rooster. And the rooster understood everything just like a dog.
They're very.
Yeah.
I used to take food to a house and had chickens outside.
Yeah.
And the dog they had, you can see the chicken and the dog.
They're friends, right? So you see, it shows the nature of the spirit created by God. We want affection. And I was telling a mother the other day, don't lecture your child. Just hold your child. Just hug. You don't need to say anything. Just hug. Just hold. Just be present. You don't need to say much, but to be present, to hold, to hug, to kiss. For them to feel that we're connected, we belong together, that they belong. They don't need to find the belonging somewhere else, because the groups of drug addicts, they create strong bonds. And we will often see children who have problems with either one of the parents or both going to that route to compensate for what they don't have at home. And the parents are co-responsible for withholding love. You could say, I love you. You could give a hug, but you don't. Because we don't forgive. So you're going to crave. I'm not going to give you food. But they go find food because we need food. So we better learn to give that love at home. And it doesn't need to be a million hours. It needs to be quality time. Critical times, right?
And I would say it's starting earlier than the teen years because I work with 9-10-year-old students, and we're seeing much earlier on 9 and 10-year-olds. Right before spring break, we were dealing with the situation of girls making videos using their school-given Chromebook, expressing where they wanted boys to touch them.
10-year-old.
10.
Oh, wow.
10. We're talking about 9-10-year-olds. So, and the thing is, with the expand because of the virtual schooling, nowadays every child has a device in their hands. So if you don't talk to your child, rest assured they're gonna Google it, and they're gonna find a lot, and then they're gonna try to make sense of it. The same way my students share with me about TikTok, and they're like, "How are you on TikTok if the minimum age is 13?" And that's it. So yeah, the case in my school was on Thursday that we learned the parents came complain, and then on Friday morning they spend the day trying to delete everything, and then it's like it's useless. We have a sandbox, we know. So it's so much earlier than we would think, like 13, 14, 9-10-year-olds.
And there's a lot of different kinds of difference. It's not only about Facebook, YouTube. There's a lot of them, thousands.
I know.
Thousands.
Social media, right?
Social media. One connect by the games, another connect by the online experience.
Yeah.
Another one is another one. I'm really surprised when I talk with my teenager.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, you have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Show me what everything you need to know that this one is just for you're free, but because she's teenager now, 17, you're free. You need to have experience and respect with each other and talking about. It's a lot.
It's very intense.
And the parents have to have an IT background. I mean, you block one thing, here comes Apple and makes everything available, or Snapchat with the deleting things, and the Instagram with the messages that disappears. Like, how do the parents?
Is it how will
so
they
you can't
know?
have anything. But nowadays, I'm like, don't care how old you are, you're not. My devices, I pay for them, you're not having them because it's impossible to control. And Eugenia was talking about the school Chromebooks. I had to call the school and be like, how is it that you can block something? Because my kid is accessing it not from at home, from school. Because we have, and they know which, like, Google Chrome, as soon as they close the browser, the history disappears for me to see, not for the school, because everything's recorded there. So they're like, if you know when they accessed it, because against the policies.
They don't take action. That's the problem.
It's too many to monitor and control.
And
it's too many. And
I understand that, but
the parents complain, I can't use YouTube to teach the phonic sounds of the alphabet. But they can't go on YouTube because that's what they spend the entire day. It's on YouTube, mostly. They don't watch the news. It's YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. That's it.
They are
about that. Presence is most important. Presence, create a wonderful relationship. Freedom. Talk with each other nicely.
No repression.
Exactly. Have a kind of put the affective experience in high level. That's the rule, because I think they have wonderful things at home. Try to repeat this one outside. Have respect with each other and have a kind of respect with his body too. That's the rule, I think.
But the problem is what we see nowadays. Majority of families, there's a big distance between their children, teens, and the parents. The parents are saying, oh, I'm here, but they are not there with the child. They don't know. There is no actual bridge. So they are with the world. And good luck to what's going to happen.
Oh, my kid is in the bedroom. Nothing can be going on.
How many of them say
Yeah.
they spend the night, they
Oh,
go
yeah.
tired the next day, right?
Yes.
And
Several.
what are they
Several.
doing? Yes.
Several.
When I used to teach young adults, 16, 17, 18, they used to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Even before class started.
Yeah.
Because they used to spend
They
the
slept
night.
late.
Yeah.
It's a problem. It's an epidemic now.
I think with psychology, educational professionals
Mhm.
is a little old for this new
I
model.
agree.
Oh, yes,
I
yes,
agree.
they're much faster. In the good sense, they make connections that for us would have taken 10 years to be at their level of thinking and maturity and management. I think Carol posted the other day about the kid talking about his,
with the
his
mom.
Yeah.
emotions. So they are at that level. And it's amazing to see on that end. It's like, wow. But on the other end, the same way their mental capabilities, intellectual is so far developed, their emotions are trying to play catch. So they're gonna try to seek the information to manage themselves. It's also the group that hugs the most. I've never had so many students hugging me all day long. And they see me multiple times. I go to the classroom, they hug me. I leave to go to my office, get something, and I come back, they come
But
back.
they don't have it at home.
Yeah, it's the lack of.
And
Because
sometimes I'm
parents
sick,
are
I'm like,
working,
yeah.
working,
And I'm
working,
telling them, like, I'm
working.
sick, you can't hug me. I don't care.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they're much faster. Their emotional needs and intellectual needs don't match, and they're much more younger.
And not to talk about the parents who are bullies or are sarcastic with the children, which puts them even farther away. Because it's the most terrible thing. You're next to a parent who is like laughing about you or laughing at you or right teasing you. And like you feel like you're before your enemy because he doesn't recognize anything that you do. Sick mind. A sick mind. A mind that needs psychiatry. Right? Needs a psychiatrist. When I see parents like this, I say, a sick mind that needs a psychiatrist. Because that is pushing the child far away from them. Right? Instead of bringing them closer. And then they will adventure themselves, and because they are lacking the affection at home. If they had it at home, they would make less mistakes outside. You know, when I see a person who is very polygamous, like to the womanizer level, rarely you will see them in a loving environment at home and being like that. Somebody pushed them to that edge.
Why we have all these shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No wonder Freud talked so much about the connection, right, between our sexual imbalance, our mental health, how they are interconnected, and Spiritism vouches for that. He will end this chapter by saying that sex by no means is a cliff to darkness, but the living source of energies in which the wisdom of the universe located the laboratory of physical forms and the power plant of more intense spiritual stimuli for the execution of the tasks that we espouse in a regime of mutual collaboration aiming at the yielding of progress and improvement of humanity. This is sex in the Spiritist field. This is sex, the venue through which we create new forms for reincarnation and the source of intense spiritual stimuli. You know, it's interesting because in mediumship, when we study about healing mediumship, we say how much sexual imbalances in mediumship happen, how many mediums go wrong in their sexuality by abusing it, and especially healing mediums, because the magnetism and the force of attraction. Yes, no wonder Emmanuel always said that you need to be very good at managing it to also be a good medium. Mm-hmm.
A great, unfortunate example of John of God.
John of God is an example. Right? And he's not the only one. Sure. Exactly. So the beauty is the optimistic and realistic view of spiritism, always referring to the universal love in terms of experience, making mistakes and getting things right, and making mistakes again to get it right more safely. We, the evolving children of God on earth, will be able to sublimate the feelings that are our own in order to definitely raise ourselves to the conquest of celestial happiness and universal love. This is the love that we want. Mary Magdalene no longer wanted to be loved. She no longer calculated how she was going to interact with this person to get something else. She reached this level of universal love, reaching out to people in ways that Jesus crowned her with his appearance. And that's our goal. We need to stop that urge for selfish love and be ever more prone to opening ourselves to universal love. Imagine, friends, the day we discarnate, and naturally our conscience is going to question us. What did we do with the people that God presented to us? Every day, at work, in our neighborhood, in our families, everywhere. Have we actually loved them, or we were just selecting? Yeah, I like you, kind of. But then I'll have my group, like a WhatsApp group. This group of 6 people I love. The rest, kind of like I tolerate, if I do. This type of relationship for us is no longer effective. It was never will. We need to shift gears and use this fire of love inside of us, because it's real fire. When we talk about this erotic load, Emmanuel says it's this beautiful, divine load of love that we need to transform and share. When we do this, it doesn't matter if we're married, if we're single, if we have 1 child, 10 children, because then no longer will be counting on these conventions. I will be loving everyone that God presents to me, and that suffices. No longer I lack anything. It's Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not lack anything. Nothing lacks. The minute I shift that gear inside of me, life is resolved. No matter if I'm young or old, no matter if I have this title, that title, this job, that job, I am self-fulfilled because the divine in me is already resolved. I need to share. This is what Emmanuel is reminding us. The beauty of this chapter, very complex chapter. right? Very complex.
And really connect with Sonderborg. Sonderborg is a author Kardec talking about it.
Yeah.
He wrote a book similar to Kardec, but talking about
before
the
Kardec.
effect of
Yeah.
Kardec recommended, but talking about the exact similarity with Emmanuel.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nothing new what the spirits are saying, but it's explained in ways that are unprecedented, right? Without mysticism and using true reasoning. Next chapter, we're going to talk about sex and religion, which is quite interesting. I think for us, it's going to be an opportunity to revisit where we've been throughout the history of our many reincarnations, how we dealt with it according to our belief system, and where Spiritism brings to us now. It's very interesting that he dedicated one chapter to that before he ends the book, summarizing it all. Bless you. Bless you. And I want to finalize, of course, with the therapy of the gospel throughout. Of course, without the Christ consciousness, we would never heal. Let's recall the story of Peter and the woman who was being almost stoned. And the beauty of Jesus coming to us to say that we always have a new opportunity. So we stop sentencing ourselves and others. Okay? Jesus is the best. People don't know yet, but we know already. He is the best. Right? We're so blessed that he came and he showed us the way.
We were at dinner with some friends of ours last week. And, of course, I got that picture on my phone.
Yeah.
And I showed it to them. And with this hesitation, who is that? You know, the husband got, the wife got it pretty fast, but the husband was struggling. And they're about Catholics.
Interesting.
So fascinating.
It took a young girl to portray him as he is.
Yes, I was telling
Without, and yet she was not religious at all.
No.
And this is the closest expression we've got on earth of Jesus in his true beauty and harmony. So today, we silence ourselves to meditate. I think I know we're studying this chapter. There's so much for us to reflect, but since it's this Good Friday, the meditation of the coming and his ultimate proof of love. Let's meditate on this for our passes and prayer, shall we, friends? Let's do this. I'm gonna ask Daisy to do the passes and carry the final prayer. Is that okay? Be careful. Let us then close our eyes and let's keep this image of Master Jesus vivid in our minds. as we feel His presence today even closer. Let us visualize that we are walking alongside the lake where Jesus met with so many, with His disciples, with those who were suffering, with those who were looking for answers. And tonight, let us encounter Jesus once again, visualizing a beautiful afternoon. The sun is right at the horizon, and we can already see the nights coming. Let us picture ourselves walking, hearing the sound of the water as we recognize this beautiful figure coming to our direction. Master Jesus is meeting with us. We can feel and we can see as He approaches us, His kind eyes, loving smile, and He radiates so much light that for a moment we feel taken by the so much brightness of His light. But as we accustom ourselves, He approaches us and He envelops us in a loving and fraternal hug. Let us feel as we hug Jesus, His light now envelops us as well. And we breathe in and out. We want to talk to Him, but He already knows exactly what we need at this very moment. He knows about our regrets. He knows about our mistakes of the past. He knows about the current challenges in our lives. And the worries of the future that we carry with us. But He caresses our hair. And He whispers in our ears, "You are a beautiful child of God. You are light yourself, and you were created for the good, to the good. You can do what I've done and much more. So stay strong. Let us keep this encounter with Jesus close to our hearts. Because now his figure melts into our arms, and his light is now our light. And we carry this light with us, with all those we encounter. All those near and far, close to our hearts and minds. Let us be vessels of Jesus on earth, spreading his light and love whenever we go. Feeling his presence so close to us in the day that we remember. The reasons why he incarnated on earth. We prepare ourselves to pray with him, keeping his image in this feeling of together with Jesus in our hearts, every step of the way.
Keeping our eyes closed, feeling the presence of God's love for each and every one of us. We thank God for the coming of the Master of love and compassion, kindness, understanding, forgiveness. Oh God, how blessed we are to be able to count with such a shepherd, such a model, such an educator, such a divine and loving brother. We thank you, God, for the gift of Master Jesus. And thank you for his incarnation on the earth. And as he humbled himself from the highest of on highs to become an incarnated person on earth, we now also would like, dear God, to give of ourselves. And we pray together so that in the presence of the Divine Master, we are able to visualize him offering a basket of healing love to all of our brothers and sisters who do not yet know him and may crave the love that they are not yet aware of. We pray so that tonight they may feel in the depths of their hearts that they are blessed as children of God, born to love, to learn, and to serve. We also pray for those who beg for love and attention, so that they can, through the Master in your name, receive a cup of the living waters that can satiate their thirst. We also pray for those who may feel abandoned or invisible before others. We pray for the elderly, for children on earth, for all teens on the earth, to feel illuminated and loved and protected by you in every step of the way. And we pray so that through your love, they may feel all the more able to love themselves, creating a circle of hope around themselves by serving others in your name. We also pray for all those in refugee camps, in prisons, in psychiatric institutions, those who are temporarily unsheltered, so that all these brothers and sisters may find shelter in the Master's loving heart. And we pray so that all of us may have our encounter with the Master in the realms of our own hearts, as we are better able and willing to forget about our own interests. Praying as well for those who still resist the call to love. We hope that in the presence of the Master tonight, they may feel embraced and enveloped by his presence, resting assured that the Master walks by our side forever. We thank you, God, for now being better able to recognize your love, and thankful for being your creation. We now ask you, Master Jesus, and the mentors of the Spiritual Society of Virginia, for permission to finalize this prayerful moments with much gratitude in our hearts. And so be it.